cream donuts. They're so good, it's scary.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
I am an American soldier.
I'm a warrior and a member of a team.
I serve the people of the United States and live the Army values.
I will always let you finish first.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never accept defeat.
I will never quit.
I will never leave a fallen comrade.
I am disciplined.
I am disciplined. Physically and mentally tough.
Trained and proficient in my warrior tasks and drills.
I'm an expert and I'm a professional.
I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the
Enemies of the United States of America in close combat.
I am a guardian of freedom and the American way of life.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
I am an American soldier.
There's strong, and there's Army strong. See what it takes at GoArmy.com.
Kevin Harlan here from Westwood One. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for Monday Night Football this week when the 4-3 Jets take on the LA Chargers. Zach Wilson and the Jets have won 3 straight, but now face Justin Herbert and a Charger team confident after a big win of their own last week. Don't miss all the action on Monday Night Football.
Coverage starts at 6:30, kickoff at 7:15, right here on your home for the NFL on the Gulf Coast. ESPN, Northwest Florida.
We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins. WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John. ESPN Northwest Florida. Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening.
Wow.
It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What is going on, Northwest Florida? You are now in the doghouse and you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. Again, this is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. And I had something that I've never had before today, courtesy of Bone Crusher's wife, Beth. And what were those again, Bone Crusher? Pan noodles?
They're called pancit noodles. It's a Filipino dish, rice noodles with some meat and vegetables.
It was scrumptious, man.
I'll pass it along.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's almost like a light ramen noodle type deal, and then you got the vegetables and all of that good stuff. It was really good. He asked me if I wanted some because I gave it was a very unfair trade because I gave him like a piece of a Cuban sandwich from the gas station.
Oh, best Cuban in town.
Right? Brian knows the deal.
Exactly, and then he gives me a full plate of noodles, and I'm like, well, I know that my belly was feeling a lot better than what yours was. I just basically gave you a taste, and he also split a little bit of that with Caveman Rick because Caveman Rick had never had the best Cuban here in Panama City Beach. So, yeah, man, good stuff, and that was a great Friday and a great lunch, too, and it was perfect timing, too, because I was just sitting there thinking, like, man, I'm going to have to go over to the yellow store over there to the fast food restaurant right behind us and get something, and he walks in, and I was thinking about saying, no, man, because I don't. You know how it is when people offer or whatever, and then I was just like, actually, yeah, dude, I had to. It was a thank you for the blessing, Bone Crusher. That was huge. But we got a lot going on this afternoon. We're gonna do a little care or don't care. I've got some things pertaining to college football and NFL, and I'll find out if we care or don't really care about those particular storylines. Then we're gonna have RJ Starcevic on the line with us. We're gonna go around the track with RJ at 4:20. The season is over. The NASCAR season is over, and a certain driver has captured the final checkered flag, even though in this particular situation he did not even grab the checkered flag, but still gets the win. Find out more there at 4:20. 4:40, we're going to play trivia. Got a great trivia question that kind of merges football and wrestling. So stay tuned at 4:40 for your opportunity to win $25 to not but that boot store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. We might even throw in some Barbaritas. 5 o'clock, Steve Barnes is going to join us. He is the senior writer for the RebelWalk.com. Then 5:20, it's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd Mueller. And then at 5:40, we'll recap our local, talk a little MLB, man. The Brewers and the Cubs, essentially, well, not the Brewers and the Cubs, but Craig Counsell leaving the Brewers to head over to the Cubs. And then about an hour or so after that, the Cubs have relieved the duties, or relieved David Ross from his duties there as manager. So it is going to be Craig Counsell's show from here on out, and it looks like he's going to be making more in 3 years with the Cubs than he did in his entire career. But a lot of that goes back to just the difference in contracts compared to when he was playing. But lots of stuff going on here. Of course, Mosley and Buchholz, that's going to be this Thursday. We thought it was going to be Friday, but it's going to be Thursday for a 7:30 Eastern kick, 6:30 kick. So we will be down there. Just send over some paperwork over to the athletic director at Mosley, Doug Lee, and we'll be down there calling the game. So if you're not able to make it, which that's a good, almost 4-hour drive, maybe just a little bit over 4 hours. If you can't make it down there, we've got your back. You can hear it right here on ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. Let's kick it off with some local here, Coach Brian Haddad, and we'll start with the swimming. What went on? We had Coach Dana. She was on the inside drive this afternoon.
Yep.
But tell us what you know for the Afternoon Underdogs.
Well, the 2A FHSA High School State Swimming and Diving Championships took place Friday. I was really hoping to get down there, but too much going on, so unfortunately was not able to get down there. But it was quite an event. Arnold ended up third on the boys' side overall in the state, and they were 28th on the girls. We've come really close at Arnold to winning state championships. I think this is the fourth top 3 finish in the last 10 years. Can't quite get there. We got real close back in, I think it was in 16. We're getting closer and closer. But exciting news, Ben Parsons was actually the 2A state champion in the 100-yard freestyle. That's Ben's first state championship. He is a senior. So that was...
I just needed to hear that again real quick. So yeah, you're good to go.
It was like an out-of-body experience there.
Exactly.
Okay, good. And then he was third in the 50-yard freestyle. Gip Cry is a junior at Arnold. He was third in the 200-yard freestyle and 500-yard freestyle. And then beyond that, the story was the divers. And, you know, as you said, Coach Dana was on with Ryan today at 11, but I'm going to give, a little more love to the divers in this county. Arnold took 6 divers to state. Which is just unbelievable. I mean, there were a lot of years we didn't have 6 divers in the whole county, period, much less making it to the state championship. Connor Kilpatrick was 9th in the girls, and Sydney Garrett Caldwell was 10th. Addison Clark also competed. For the boys, Preston Tomaszewicz ended up 4th overall in the state, and then Brock Smartwood and Coleman Lewis also competed. So again, Arnold 3rd in boys overall and 28th in the women. So congratulations to all of our local swimming and diving participants.
Yeah, this local update brought to you by Barbaritos. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street. Tell them the Underdog sent you. Barbaritos, food, community, people. On Thursday, Choctaw blanked Mosley 35-0. Weewa over Franklin 34-8. And Holmes over Destin 32-14. Bozeman keeps it rolling. They are now undefeated on the regular season, or completing their regular season undefeated. They beat Rutherford 41-24. What a season for the Bozeman Bucks, man. That is great stuff. We'll talk just a little bit more about the playoffs here in a few moments. Chipley takes down Bluntstown 32-26. North Bay Haven blanking Arnold 46-0. Port St. Joe beats Bay 35-14. Here's a close score. Mariana and the Bulldogs over South Walton 26-25. Sneeds takes down Freeport 50-28, and Liberty on top of Jefferson 49-24. Vernon beats FAMU 30-20. Cottondale over Graceville 44-6. Walton beats Northview 54-14, and Crestview takes care of business with Fort Walton Beach 35-28, and Niceville over Navarre by a lot 63-34. Also, we had the Panama City Beach Ironman returned to the Gulf Coast for its 25th installment. They had under 2,000 athletes, just under 2,000 athletes, all the way from 18 to 83 years old. They started out with that 2.4-mile swim through the Gulf of Mexico. Then after that, a 112-mile bike ride. I don't know if I've done that in my entire life. I'm just kidding. I used to ride my bike to work every day, and that was across the bridge. So that would be like 5 miles a day or so. Yeah, that was when I was rolling sushi, man. That was actually a lot of fun doing that. I remember listening to a lot of college football games on the radio back in those days. And then they finished it up with a 26.2-mile run. In the pro side of things, Rudy Von Berg crossed the finish line at 7 hours, 34 minutes, and 41 seconds, which is a new course record. And on the women's side, Sky Monch claimed her first victory at 8 hours, 22 minutes, and 29 seconds. She also set a new bike course best for the women with a ride time of 4 hours, 23 minutes, and 9 seconds. And the last 2 years, she's finished runner-up in second place there. So finally crossing the finish line on top. Good stuff there for Scott. And it's going to be back next year, November 2nd, 2024. They also announced that the Ironman is going to be back for the next 5 years until 2029. We'll take a look at the playoffs here in Class 1R Region 1. Bozeman gets a well-deserved bye along with Holmes County. Chipley's going to host the 6th seed Vernon on this coming Friday at 7 p.m. in the region quarterfinal. In Class 1R Region 2, Bluntstown and PSJ get the bye. Sneeds is going to host the 5th seed, Cottondale. That'll be at 7 p.m. in the region quarterfinal. And Weewa is going to be traveling to number 6 Osceola Christian. That'll be at 7 p.m. as well. In the Class 2S, Region 1, Walton's going to be hosting the 8th seed South Walton on this Friday at 7 p.m. Marianna is going to be traveling to Florida High at 7 p.m. In the Class 4S, Region 1, Mosley is going to be traveling to Buchholz. That'll be Thursday, November 9th, 7:30 Eastern, which will be a 6:30 Central start time. Cannot wait for that. Cannot wait for all of these games, and definitely going to be keeping our eye on Bozeman as they wade through the waters of Class 1R. Kyle Wright says, hey, Brian, War Games official. What two teams do you think will participate? What is this wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this will be for the Survivor Series. They set up 2 rings right next to each other, and it's a pretty cool event. I just heard about it maybe yesterday or the day before, so I don't know exactly, but there has to be some level of Judgment Day bloodline, maybe against Cody and Jay Uso and guys like that. So we'll see, but definitely looking forward to it. War Games is always a really fun event. It's very unique and can be quite violent, if you will. So it'll be a good one.
Yes, sir. We will find out around 4:40 about what your top 4 is going to be, because we'll have the College Football Playoff Committee dropping those tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, so do you care or don't care? It's not that big of a deal. We'll start it off with Dallas Turner, who was not flagged for targeting. He did get the roughing the passer call, so end result is you got the yardage. The only thing that you didn't get is you didn't get a player ejected, and so now, and really, what I'll wait for you to go on this. But do you care or not care Dallas Turner not being flagged for targeting in the 4th quarter of that Bama LSU game?
I think it was right not to call him for targeting. I did not think he was going strong helmet to helmet, or it wasn't defenseless player. That being said, with the safety measures they're trying to institute on the quarterback, the hits to the head are unsportsmanlike conduct, unnecessary roughness, whatever. So I don't have any problem with the roughing the passer or if it was called unnecessary roughness or whatever, because it was a shot right up under the chin and then obviously rode him down. Although, I don't know. I've always kind of had a hard time with the riding them into the ground, because if you're
what
not,
are you supposed to do?
Yeah, if you're not making a separate move to do it, I don't know. And look, I am an Alabama fan, so I'm sure people will say I've got my crimson colored glasses on. But no, I've got no problem with a 15-yard penalty, but I don't believe it was targeting.
Yeah.
So
I guess what I would have liked to see in that situation, obviously I think the game was kind of out of hand, but they did get the ball back. You know, they were down 2 scores, and had it been Jaden Daniels, things could have been different because he was electric. But I would have liked to see them call targeting and review it and then go from there. You know what I mean? And the only reason I say that is because, in my opinion, no, that really wasn't targeting and really wasn't roughing the passer to some extent. But I mean, also with when the helmet hits the face mask, and then the dude's kind of out with a jaw issue and concussion protocol and all of that stuff. But it is one of those things that I would have liked to see that at least called like that, just because of all of the backlash from everyone. And there's, I mean, how many times do we see these lame targeting calls? And that was one that, if you wanted to, you could at least have reviewed it.
It's a case of the end result is clouding everybody's vision.
Yeah.
Like, if Jaden Daniels had come back on the field and played the next one, well, he did, but had continued to stay in, then I don't think there'd be the uproar, and it wouldn't have changed the hit. So I get a little bit miffed at that stuff. The problem I have with what you're saying is not specific to targeting.
Okay.
And here's what I mean. I get bothered. I know why they do it. Like when they let the play out, call it a fumble, whatever, and then they go review it, thinking, well, we'll let the play out and then we can review it. The problem is the way they've designed review is it's supposed to be clear evidence to overturn.
Right.
So the call on the field does matter. I don't know if that plays as much in targeting, but to me, if you're not certain it's targeting, why not? Look, they went and reviewed it anyway.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with the way they handled it. I've got a bit more of a problem with things that they do in the play, letting it go when, you know, they're 99% certain on a call. I know why they do it.
Right.
But that initial call has an advantage over something being overturned. And I've seen some things that I have not liked, the way that they've gone based on, you know, the way they're instructed to call things.
Right.
If that
I guess my only thing is if I'm looking at it from the football fans' perspective and not the Alabama fans' perspective, I've seen targeting calls for way less.
Oh, I agree. And so what I'm trying to do is be objective, and I'm saying, look, I don't like those calls.
Right.
And so I don't like this one either being done. But yeah, look, if I was an LSU fan, I'd probably be screaming bloody murder. Because it was a hit to the head.
Yeah.
Or up under the chin anyway. And so,
head and neck area.
Right, exactly. So I get it. I don't think I would be dying on that hill.
So do you care or not care?
I don't really care that targeting wasn't called. To me, they got a 15-yard penalty, which I thought was correct based on their rules.
Right.
And I don't believe it was targeting based on their rules. So I think it's over and move on.
Do you care or do you not care that the Dolphins flop against good teams?
I don't know that they flopped. I mean, I thought they probably should have beat the Chiefs.
Well, not just taking this game as a singularity, but the Bills, the Eagles, and the Chiefs this year. Like when all of their wins are against subpar teams, and all of their losses are against decent teams.
I'll say I care because it is problematic that you do want to show that you can beat those upper echelon teams, because that's who you're going to play in the playoffs. But playoffs. But yeah, that being said, do I think it's the end of the world? No, because they're in those games for the most part. You know, that's good, but you need to be winning those close games against good teams, and so far they haven't done that. So I care, but not a ton.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think in the long term, you need a few more of these games down the stretch of the season where you can come out on top, so that you can kind of get that momentum for the playoffs. And I mean, Tua didn't have a terrible game, 21 of 34, 193 yards, 1 touchdown to go along with it. Patrick Mahomes actually had less yards there. The sacks for Tua, 3 of 18 there. I would have liked to see Tyreek Hill. The thing is why are we putting these marquee games in other countries?
No.
If we want the best from these teams, then they don't need to have a crazy travel schedule.
I agree with that, although I'm not sure we would have known the Dolphins were going to be quite as good as they were when we set the schedule. I think they've overachieved.
That's fair, but the hype has been around them. Because the question was not, can the Dolphins be a good team? The question is, if their quarterback is good,
that's true.
If he can stay healthy, then they're going to be good.
And the other thing is the Dolphins are a bit of a victim of that 70-point game they had against Denver, because now when they have a regular game, which, like you said, he wasn't bad, but they're constantly being judged against one of the greatest offensive outputs in NFL history, so it's always going to look a little bit off. It's like, 2019 LSU against Auburn. It's like, why didn't they score 50? Well, sometimes when you play really good defenses, you don't.
Yeah.
You still played well. Alabama in 2020 had some games like that, and, you get that quite often. Georgia last year against Missouri. So those things do happen. You are judged against your other successes, so I'm not sure the Dolphins, like I said, were that far off. Now, that being said, Tua's been sharper, but you're not going to generally be as sharp the better your competition. That's the whole point of it being better competition. So,
that is fair. Do you care or do you not care that the Gators use those blackout uniforms and lose?
I don't like them.
You don't like them?
I'm not as far out there as Hale is on it. I don't look.
Oh, he didn't like those?
No, he's a tradition guy, and I understand that.
That's
but look,
fair.
if you can make an extra, several $1 million selling the things and build better facilities, I think he'd be the first one to line up to do it, because that'll get you more recruits and whatever. That being said, look, this one was done differently. This wasn't just a money grab. This was a military tribute, as it was, and I think that was great. And do I like Florida in black uniforms? No, not really. Do I really care? No. But yeah, if you're going to change some up, you better win in it.
I was about to say, because I know the first thing when I saw Travis, who was a big Gator fan, he was like, burn them. Burn them.
Well, yeah, you lost in them.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, too. Look, I understand we're in November, but you don't wear all black when you're going to go in the heat of the day in Florida.
Well, when they had already had those planned out, the uniforms when they were going to play, but then because they haven't really been playing good, they haven't really been playing good, and then also on top of that, Arkansas really has left plenty to be desired there. So I find that to be that's the reason why they got that 11 a.m. game slot. But I'm with you, man. Those things would have looked even better at nighttime.
Look, I went to Mississippi State. I know what the 11 o'clock game is. I get it.
Good night. Doesn't matter if we're already in the middle of fall and closing in on winter. Just not a great idea here in Florida to be wearing black at 11 a.m.
Like I said, you better win if you're going to change it up.
We got some other things for care or don't care, but we don't have time for them right now because it is time for us to go around the track with RJ Starcevic. This is the Afternoon Underdogs, and you are listening to ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's the PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd. Mondays at 5:20 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
That is a very high-end card and very rare.
Todd talks about coins, trading cards, collectibles, and the amazing stories behind them.
It was the first one that's ever come through my door.
Plus, we'll be taking your calls and questions at 850-215-6290. The PCB Hobby Takeover.
A platform for you to do your hobby.
Mondays at 5:20 on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The rest of the day, mostly clear and a temperature of 78 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the west-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a calm wind and warm near 59. Sunny and 75 tomorrow. 75 and slight fog in the morning, but otherwise mostly sunshine with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new Kia and see why everyone is talking about Kia. The new SUV family has movement that inspires, and we invite you to test drive the new 2023 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, and the Telluride. You can command the road in a sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a brand new 2023 Kia Rio, Forte, K5, or Stinger, and discover the all-new vehicle at Bill Bird Kia for you and your family. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City today, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. Peace of mind you can trust at your local community dealer. Bill Bird Kia, 15th Street, Panama City.
They're number one in the men's room.
I hope this place comes with toilet paper.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Oh, geez, this is going to be a photo finish.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're right with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. You can give us a call or text at 850-215-6290. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. Got to give a real quick shout out, a happy 29th birthday to a good friend of mine, Taylor Johnson. Hope you have a great day. And now we'll get over to the phone line with RJ and we'll go around the track. RJ, what's going on, my friend? How's that weather down there in South Florida?
Not too much, yeah. Weather's going good. Clear skies. Haven't seen rain in a while, but the weather's been good. Nice little crisp breeze every morning. We wake up, it's getting a little colder and colder, ready for winter time, I guess, or whatever we call it down here in Florida, you know.
I hope that the signal clears up a little bit like the weather does, because right now you're sounding like our weather lady, Joanna. But give us a recap of that final race, and I'll let you know if we have to end up dumping you and see which method we could go with moving forward. But give us a recap, that final race of the season. Tell us who came away with the checkered flag and who won the championship.
Yeah, so Cup Series race was a pretty solid one, and it actually ended up being the first race where we had the winner was not the champion of the race, so the champion was in the race. So, it started with Christopher Bell had it too early. A rotor exploded on the car, crashes into the wall, and it's the first time in a while we've seen one of the championship drivers be out of contention early. So, big shocker there. So it really ended up coming down to just Hendrick versus Penske for the end of the race. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Ryan Blaney going head-to-head, and they all were kind of not battling for the lead, but kind of battling just mid-pack. And so Ryan Blaney, I'd say he had the best car out of the three during that race. William Byron started off great, fell off, wasn't able to get back up there. Kyle Larson's pit crew tried.
Yep, there it went. I was expecting that shortly. We'll see if we can get them back on the line. But if the signal's not good, we're not going to put you guys through that this afternoon. Looks like it's time for some rapid fire.
Care or don't care? I care about our phones.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely care about the phones. But that was RJ Starcevic. He's the host and creator of the NASCAR Report, and you can find that on Instagram. And we'll see. Maybe we'll talk with him a little bit more. But guess what? Brian, we got a little bit more care or don't care.
That's why we saved them.
And you can text in at 850-215-6290, and we'll read those off on the air. We're also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, all at ESPN Northwest Florida. And you can also get the app and carry us with you wherever it is that you go. Just type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida in your Google Play or your Apple Store and download that and register. Also, hearing that the Emberlyn Newman, they had that event, Pitching In for Emberlyn. They had that this last Sunday. Yeah. They raised over $8,000 for her.
That's awesome.
That is huge. I saw that from Adam. Adam posted that on Facebook, and I was just like, man, That is incredible. So, Bay County, we thank you, man. That young lady just, I believe, 2 years old and dealing with what she's dealing with. And you guys came through once again. I'm so proud to be a part of this community, man, and look forward to kind of diving even deeper into it. So the Bengals and Joe Burrow getting it going here. Do you care or not care? Like, is it too early in the season to really start worrying about them getting it going, or what's your stance on that?
I care that they're starting to play well because Joe Burrow's my fantasy quarterback. No, that's the cheap answer. No, I care because, look, they started slow last year, but by week 3, they had pretty much got it turned around. This year took a little longer, I think, but what I'm starting to see out of the Bengals is exactly what everyone in the AFC fears. This is a team that, when they've got it going, can beat anybody in football. And so, you know, I think it's a good sign in Cincinnati that they're starting to get it going and, you know, playing pretty well against the bigger competition in the AFC. We just talked about that with the Dolphins. It is good that they're getting these big wins, but it is frustrating to have to sit through those first couple of weeks. You can blame it on an injury, you know, to Joe Burrow, whatever. Either way, they started slow last year as well and came up one game short of the Super Bowl. So I do think it's a good sign for Cincinnati, and I do think everyone in the AFC better be on notice that the Bengals are starting to click.
I am right there with you, man. Watching them last night, obviously Josh Allen, you know, the Bills, they've showed that they're a capable team, but now what are they sitting here at, 4-4?
Bills are a fraud.
We get that every year.
Capable. Yeah. They're so talented. They've got everything they need. There's just some intangible missing. Yes, Josh Allen is too loose with the football, but it's not just that. It's something in that locker room is just missing. And if they can figure that out, I think this team is probably, on paper, to me, they're probably the best team in football, honestly. I think they're right up there. I know a lot of people will disagree, but I love their roster. But something is missing in them playing together as a squad, and it's hurt them this year.
Man, I mean, the Chiefs are definitely on their way up just because of how good that defense is going. But, you know, obviously they get overshadowed by Patrick Mahomes and the connection with Travis Kelce as well. And then both of those guys are getting overshadowed by Taylor Swift right now. So it is what it is. But I get what you're saying. I would say that the Eagles are probably the most talented roster across the board when it comes to every position. But my one thing, so if there was a unit, if there was a positional unit for the Buffalo Bills that you think could use improvement. Now, every team could use improvement almost everywhere outside of some teams with a quarterback position. For me, it would be running back. Yes, they signed Leonard Fournette. James Cook has shown some flashes, but I guess but I don't know if that fixes what's going on, and here's why. Mm-hmm. Because they don't utilize the running back position correctly.
That was where I was going. I'm not sure it's a lack of talent there. I'd even replace him. It's just they're not utilizing Cook, I think, to what he does best. And again, I think that comes back to either to Josh Allen or to the OC plan or something about the cohesiveness between the offensive coordinator and Josh Allen. There's just something missing. Stephon Diggs, as much as he's talented and probably right when he goes off, I think sometimes the way he goes off on the sideline can kind of dishearten and divide a little bit of that sideline versus, you know, kind of uniting everybody, because it seems very pointed at Josh Allen. And that's the kind of stuff that can really undermine a team. I don't know that that's what's going on, but that's something I'm noticing when I watch these guys. And so, I don't know. I mean, there's a few things that they need to do. They have a very opportunistic defense. I wouldn't say they're very solid up the middle, like the spine of their defense, if you will. But they're very opportunistic in the way that they attack the ball, and that can lead to some takeaways. So I still think they're extremely talented. It's just I don't know that they're utilizing their talent to the best of their ability. And Josh Allen's just got to be less loose with the football.
Right, exactly, because you see the quarterback on the opposite side of the field, Joe Burrow, now getting it going. We really started to see a big stride last week against the San Francisco 49ers. You're starting to see him be able to put a little bit more pressure on that leg, on that calf there. So it bodes well for the Bengals. It bodes well for Jamar Chase, who had himself a little incident last night when he went up for a pass and ended up falling on his back. But he was right back in the game after that. The Bengals are a team that you have to worry about because at the end of the day, right, we can go through this regular season. The NFL's got a lot of parity right now, so you're going to lose some games along the way. But what they're showing right now is, A, they got fight. B, they got the most important thing, so let's actually move that to A, in a good quarterback. And then here's the other thing. Joe Burrow will sacrifice his body, and he will pick up first downs with his legs.
Right.
But his presence in the pocket, every time I watch the guy, I'm just like, golly. Yes, he uses his legs. Don't get me wrong. But he's not a mobile first quarterback. And it's just, I don't want to say that it's refreshing to see that or anything, because that's neither here nor there. But it is like watching old school football when he's climbing the ladder in the pocket.
There's nobody better, and this goes back to his college days. It was what I thought separated him so much at LSU. There's nobody better who can make one sidestep, find one spot, by taking 1 to 2 steps and creating a throwing lane or just getting out of trouble and opening things up for him. Like, when you say mobile quarterback, everyone thinks running around the end, whatever like that, what Lamar does, quite frankly, what Josh Allen can do at times like that. But no, what Joe Burrow does better than anybody I've seen in the game in a very long time is he has so much pocket awareness that he can make one little sidestep that, I can't even see watching the game from above. How he sees it in the moment, I don't know, but he's so good at finding that one little step, creating a lane to make the throw, or getting out of trouble with just one step. He doesn't have to go running. And then once he does that, any football coach will tell you, offense always has an advantage over defense because offense knows where they're going.
Right.
And so if you give receivers long enough, they're going to get open. So if he can do that sidestep, give his receivers an extra second and a half, 2 seconds to get open, they're going to get there, and he's going to find them.
It hasn't been that long since Tom Brady's played football.
Brady was good, unbelievably good at that as well. I think Burrow's better at it.
Ooh, I'm not going to sit here and disagree with you.
I think he's better at it. He's not as accurate as he is. He's not as accurate as Brady in the big moment. But Burrow was so good at sidestepping things. Like, as good as I think Tua is at throwing the slant, I think Joe Burrow is that good at the one step, create a lane movement.
I love it, man. That's high praise. Anytime that you're being compared to or saying that you're better than Tom Brady at this, that is high praise. Now you got to have that. That's the thing that the reason why Tom Brady gets the greatest of all time nod from a lot of people is because you sit there and you talk about the championships, right? Outside of that, yes, there was a lot that Tom Brady did, and I think that it comes down to the leadership that not only Kraft was a leader enough for Bill Belichick to follow behind him, and then Bill Belichick enough of a leader for Tom Brady, and then Tom Brady for the New England Patriots football team, not only offense but defense as well. So I find that impressive. So my next care or don't care is Caleb Williams crying. Do you care, or is it like whatever about Caleb Williams crying? And then I have a part 2 of this question.
This is a tough one.
It is.
It's
especially in today's age.
In a weird way, I like that I see that out of him, and that I know that it means something to him. Because so much of today is just positioning yourself for your own personal thing, and maybe that's what he's crying about. I don't think so. I think he's crying because he envisioned USC making a playoff run and doing big things. Now, that being said, I think he's crying because what we said last week. I think there is so much pressure on him nowadays with all the NIL stuff and all the hype around the draft and all the teams tanking for Caleb and all the hype, quite frankly, that he's put on himself by making yourself a brand instead of just going and being a football player. That I wonder if this crying is maybe more built out of the kid's cracking.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's sad.
A reality way, yeah.
I mean, imagine think back to when you're 21, 22 years old and having the camera on you for everything.
Yeah.
Everybody says they want that. There's a lot of weight that comes with that, and
there's a reason why I never wanted to pursue TV.
There you go. But when I saw him on the bench a couple of weeks ago, and he just looked completely defeated, and when I see this kid, he's cracking, and I feel bad for him. I didn't like a lot of what he did last year with fingernails and all like that. I feel really bad for what I see out of him this year, because I see what I hope is not the future of what's going to happen to these kids. And let's face it, they're kids.
Right.
And so I'm a little bit worried. I care that I see him crying, in that it worries me for him. But by the same token, I do think a part of that was it does still mean so much to him. So it's better that I see that than just some blasé, oh, well, whatever, I'm going to get mine in the draft anyway. So
that's a good way of looking at it, though, because one of the ways that I kind of put it on the Inside Drive this afternoon or this morning, whichever time you were listening, whatever time it was with him crying, it's like, all right, I get it, right? You did have high expectations and everything, but there's a time and a place for it. One, right? And when you get around mama, it's hard to not do that. And if this wasn't on camera, it's not even a big deal.
Correct.
So that's a whole nother thing. But when it is on camera and now you're getting seen, and then you got to go into the locker room with your guys, and instead of you leading them for the next contest, for the next game, for the next battle, which is not a good phrase to use, I've been told before as well, so sorry about that, but for the next contest, we'll call it that, then those guys are looking at you as weak to some extent, regardless if you were or not. But you see what I'm saying? There's a time for that.
I don't know if it's weakness. I think the problem is they're looking at him tell them kind of how we're going to rally this, how we're going to get it. And what I see in Caleb Williams is he doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean about this. Is like what I saw in what game was it? Washington, maybe.
Yeah, the last game?
No. What was the one they lost first?
The first one?
Oregon, maybe. I can't remember. Whoever they lost.
No, because they got Oregon this week.
I can't remember. All the Pac-12s played each other so much. Whoever they lost to first, I watched in that game a guy who was trying to do everything by him. Maybe
he has to, too.
That's trying to do everything by himself, even more so than he has to. He took it all on himself, and when it wasn't working, it's like he didn't have any answers. And I don't know if Lincoln Riley wasn't giving them to him or if Caleb thinks he has to do it all himself. Like, these quarterbacks nowadays, they've heard people like us talk about the quarterback is the leader and this and the other, and they take that to heart.
Yeah.
And they feel like if they don't have an answer, these kids don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I see that
and
out
so
of
young,
him.
too, yeah.
And is it bad for the rest of his team that they're looking for him and he's crying because he doesn't have any answers? Yeah, because that's the guy you're looking to. This is where Lincoln Riley needs to earn his check right now.
And I'm with you, and I don't want it to seem that I'm saying it's negative or that I'm even saying weak in a negative sense of the manner with him crying and stuff like that, because it is what it is. It's a human emotion, but we're not talking about just Caleb Williams, the football player at the college level. We're talking about you're about to be next year. You're going to be playing with grown men, and that's not going to be acceptable. To be honest,
it doesn't help him. Yeah, it doesn't help him, but you can come back from that.
Yeah, of course you can.
But right now, if you just look at it from USC as a team perspective, that is a team that needs a leader. And usually, it'd be Caleb Williams. Right now, for whatever reason, that isn't going to. He doesn't have any answers.
It might as well be the defensive coordinator who they fired.
He certainly has no answer. Somebody has to fill that role, and that's Lincoln Riley's job to do.
That's a good conversation. Obviously, I don't think that his draft stock is hurting at all from this, but it is going to be interesting to see how it ends up playing out. I think now, though, with all of this going on, if you choose to, here's the thing: if at the end of the season, if you sit there and say, I'm sticking here in college because I want to win a championship. That's one thing. But if you sit there and I don't want to go to the team that drafted me or whatever, I think you're going to hurt your draft stock tremendously, because we're only talking about 32 general managers and 32 head coaches that are looking at you. And if you're going to go that way after some of the things have transpired this year, it's not just about talent alone.
That's the damage he's done to himself. Not crying.
Yeah.
Not even not having an answer, because that's going to happen. This whole notion that he's going to play what he thinks is the John Elway or Eli Manning card, which were different situations. situations, somewhat. Elway's was a little closer to this.
Right.
But that goes a long way in that, look, you're advertising that you don't want to get out there and struggle, that you're bigger than the league. This is a small group of people with very long memories.
Yeah.
And, that did not do him any favors. And people are willing to give you a break on that if you're good enough. The problem for Caleb Williams right now, in pure NFL tools, I'm not sure he's the number one overall pick.
Yeah.
And not just what I've seen the last couple of weeks. I'm just not sure. I think he can be a quarterback in the league. He's not a drop-dead number one. I don't think he ever was. But we'll see.
Ned, yeah, I mean, he's got all the talent in the world. We'll leave off this segment with Lynn Haven Rob's text. He says, we as a society are putting too much pressure on these kids. Look at the girl in the Olympics and Jordan Travis at FSU. All these guys came back to win a national championship. And that's a great point, Lynn Haven Rob. That is a great point. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Give us a call at 850-215-6290. It's time for trivia.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
The Mosley Dolphins are district champions.
Mosley faithful going wild right now.
And this Thursday night, the number 8 seed Dolphins travel to Gainesville to take on the undefeated number 1 seed Butch Holtz Bobcats. Powerhouses collide in the Florida High School State Championship Regional Quarterfinals. Kickoff Thursday at 6:30 with David and Kyle on your home for the Mosley Dolphins, ESPN Northwest Florida.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
The sounds of is everywhere, and the cooler weather is back a little now and then. So that means it's time for a trip to That Boot Store to outfit the whole family in their favorite Western wear for that colder weather on the way. And if you need quality work clothes, check out the large selection of Carhartt work clothes, boots, and shoes available at That Boot Store, open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5, and Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30, next to Bill Bird Kia, 15th Street in Panama City. Remember, God is good all the time.
When summer comes to a close on the loveliest village on the plains, our family gathers again just as we have for the last 131 years. Unrivaled traditions.
Get out to toilet paper. Toomer's Corner is going to be buried tonight.
The craziest atmosphere.
You're not going to keep them off the field tonight.
Unforgettable moments.
Let's go play ball.
That's Auburn being Auburn.
Your home for the Auburn Tigers. ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
$5 a pop. It's cheaper than Uber. You can send that to my Venmo. I'm just kidding with you guys. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're in the doghouse, and this is ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes, along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. It's time to play a little trivia. You can give us a call at 850-215-6290. And the question kind of merges college football and NFL. So if you'd like to play along, give us a call at 850-215-6290 for your opportunity to win $25 to not the, but That Boot Store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Just give us a call and we'll get you on the line. That's when we'll read the question out to you. And guess what? It's multiple choice. So it's not like you just got to fish in the dark for this. I actually have you guys 4 choices to choose from. So let's play the game. All right. So C.J. Stroud's big day. 470 yards, NFL record for a rookie, 5 touchdowns. Care or don't care about that, Coach Brian.
I'm sorry, I had a text coming.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, we're talking about C.J. Stroud. We're talking about C.J. Stroud here. He had the 470 yards, 5 touchdowns, NFL record for a rookie with 470 yards, overtaking Andrew Luck. Do you care or not care, or what's your stance on that?
It was impressive. I mean, he's good. Again, we were talking to the break. He didn't do it against, the 85 Bears defense, but look, it's impressive. Anytime you have a rookie quarterback start to come into their own, and look, he's doing it with young receivers. Like, these aren't big established. He doesn't have D-Hop out there. He doesn't have Larry Fitzgerald or, some vet that's going to get it done. He's got Tank Dell, and he's got, unknown receiver number 2 and unknown receiver number 3. And, he's impressive. He's definitely showed the best of this class. I mean, we got cut short on Anthony Richardson, obviously, but what he's doing is impressive. And, what the Texans did is they decided we're going to try and put together a team for the next 3 years of good young talent. And they went all in on it, and it's starting to show some fruit because they play in a terrible conference or division. Why not?
Why not? They do play in a terrible division. Yeah. One thing I've noticed, and this is why I ended up picking the Texans to beat the Bucs, is that at the house this year, they're lethal. But on the road, as you mentioned, I don't know if you did right here in this in this segment on the air, if that was just in the break, but they lost to the Panthers last week.
Yeah, they're the Panthers' one win.
Yeah.
Definitely. So I like what I see out of Stroud. He doesn't force the ball. He seems to take what's given to him. He did a good job of being patient in the pocket and waiting for his receivers to get open. Quite often they were open by 4 or 5 yards. I saw a few breakdowns in the Bucs secondary, but no, I look, anytime you throw for that in the NFL, it is impressive, especially when you're a rookie. And, you're starting to hear he's halfway into his season now, and he's starting to look like he may be the cream of this crop of quarterbacks right now. Obviously, the situation you're in helps dictate that. Bryce Young's running for his life constantly. But what I've seen right now, Stroud looks like the best quarterback pickup of the class right now.
Yeah, let's play a little trivia. Give us a call, 850-215-6290. That Buccaneers defense, they have given up 29 passing touchdowns, which is good for second best, tied with 4 other teams in the league. They haven't got very many interceptions. I believe they are bottom 3 in the league. But when it comes to yards, they're actually top 10 in the league as far as not giving up a bunch of yards. But end of the day, I'm just going off of statistics here. Just going off of statistics.
Care about yards. Care about points.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, though, is because the record that he set was passing yards, though, 470 yards. But Still impressive to me, and I do care about it because it had me thinking, and we can go this direction with it. Do you think that the Panthers, Frank Reich's mad about it, do you think that the Panthers are sitting there wishing, we might have taken the wrong guy? C.J. Stroud was the right guy. You don't think so?
No, I think Stroud may end up better, but I don't know that means they took the wrong guy.
Okay.
I think that means if Frank Reich's mad, he should be mad he didn't pick up another 2 offensive linemen in the offseason.
There you go. That's a good point.
I mean, that's their whole issue.
The interception that Bryce Young threw to Kenny Moore yesterday was not.
Well, no, look, he's going to have some of those. I watched Stroud throw a couple
that
fair. Were between the 2 numbers of the defense a few times too early. Now, Stroud is progressing. Young, we kind of up and down with him. But I don't know yet. I don't know that you can say yet that it was a total mistake, because the other thing is, would C.J. Stroud behind Carolina's offensive line look like Bryce Young looks like behind Carolina?
And that's what I was going to get at, is D'Amico Ryans has done a really good job of building this Texans up. And I think that, especially with him being a defensive guy, because I remember last year I was all over Dennis Allen. Like, I don't know if the Saints are going to be able to be good because we're in this era of offense and people just kind of want to continuously, or when you hire a new head coach and he's defensive minded, it doesn't seem to work out. Well, D'Amico Ryans, former 49ers defensive coordinator, and it's worked out like a gem to this point. As far as the expectations for the Texans were maybe 2 to 3 wins, and look at where they're at right now.
No, I absolutely, and a lot of that is due to Stroud. But again, he has developed a really good rapport with his receiving core. And again, it's not big names.
Yeah, it's not.
and good for them. And they've got, good solid tight end. Running games, okay.
Schultz was a huge pickup, and he's starting to show himself. But Schultz was a big pickup from the Dallas Cowboys, just to kind of give you that safety blanket. Yep. So, I think that was huge. And then you're talking about guys like Nico Collins and Tank Dell, like the guy who's the most notable name as far as how his career has went. And Robert Woods is really a non-factor for that offense. And even yesterday, the run game with Devin Singletary was not all that impressive at all. But they're really good at the house, which is going to, we'll see how that plays out when the Titans head to NRG Stadium. How about Josh Dobbs pulling off that improbable comeback? Jaren Hall, quarterback out of BYU, getting injured, hitting concussion protocol, and then Josh Dobbs comes in, and it's just like, golly, he don't even got Justin Jefferson, and they come back. I want to say they were down 11 points or so.
But it might as well have been 100.
Yeah, might as well have been 100.
He gets a safety. It looked horrendous. It just, I don't. That was the most impressive thing I saw yesterday is what he did, because I liked what he did in Arizona. I know why they traded him.
Yeah, get something out of him.
Yeah, they were going to try and because they were going to release him.
Kyler Murray's starting next week anyway. So
he played well in Arizona.
He did.
It wasn't a very good team. He played well. But to do what he did, what did he get there on Tuesday?
Yeah.
He gets there on Tuesday. He's not planning on, he's got to learn a whole new system. He's not planning on being the starter. And then Hall goes down early, and he's got to come in with a totally new group of people. Like you said, he doesn't know half of them's name.
Yep.
He doesn't know the system yet. And not only does he get a win, but he leads them to a comeback. It was impressive as could be. I mean, that kid is tough. He's played for 4 or 5 NFL teams now. He was not heralded coming out of the University of Tennessee.
He's played for 5 NFL teams since like week 15 of last year.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I mean, maybe he's going to be the new Fitzmagic and play for every team in the league. But Josh Dobbs, what he did yesterday was the most impressive thing I saw on the weekend.
When the Vikings got him, I was expecting maybe the Titans to deal Tannehill to the Vikings or something if they knew that his injury would be subsided by the second week of the trade or whatever, or the second week after they got him in a trade. But when I saw Josh Dobbs come across my phone, I'm like, this might be a really good pickup, because there is without a doubt, not right now, but there is without a doubt in 2 more weeks, in maybe even 1 week when Justin Jefferson comes back, that this is the best wide receiving core that Josh Dobbs has had at his disposal.
Let me address something tangentially a little bit that has to do with this deal, because during that game, if you remember, Hall went down. Their emergency quarterback was Cam Akers.
Yeah.
And he went down.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we didn't have to find out what was going to happen. But again, it brings up, I've said it on this show numerous times, it's probably been a year, but this 53-man roster is stupid. There is no reason why you should be cut to 53 men other than the owners saving money. We need to have more players available in the time frame. This whole deal it would be so much better if you carried 65 or 70 because they're in your system and they know it. It'd be safer for everybody involved. We should never have a situation like we had, 3 or 4 years back with the Broncos, where they basically had to run dive plays because they couldn't do anything.
Or we can go back to the NFC Championship last year with the San Francisco 49ers.
Thing. This is stupid. And having someone designated this to say, we'll give you an extra quarterback. No, just make it a 65 or a 70-man roster. College is 85, for God's sake.
I mean, they carry 118 to 130.
You can afford it. Put them on the field so you don't have these potential situations. And the other thing it does, it's encouraging people to go out there when they're hurt. So raise the rosters, you cheapskate owners, and get that done now.
Yeah, I would think that you guys got plenty of money to make that happen. But I definitely do care not only about C.J. Stroud's big day. I thought that was a lot of fun to watch. And I think that it helped. Maybe if I had picked the Buccaneers, I'd be like, I don't care at all about that because he stole a win from me. But I do care as well about Josh Dobbs pulling off that improbable comeback. I mean, how do you think he had to, but I wonder how much time he really kind of put into the playbook. You know what I mean? Heading into this game, because it's like, I know I'm not going to be starting. We've already named Jaren Hall.
I don't care if you're a professional or not. There's no way you approach that playbook with the same fervor as you would if you thought on Tuesday, I'm going to have to start. There's no way.
Or
It's
that
human.
there's a likelihood that I'm going to be playing because it probably feels like, unless something crazy happens, I'm not throwing the ball this Sunday.
Right. I'm going to learn the key 8 plays or something that we've got or something like that. Again, it's just super impressive what he did.
What about for Taylor Heineke? With, I believe he only had 1 touchdown and 1 interception, so it wasn't a boatload of turnovers there for him. But do the Falcons rethink their decision and go back to Desmond Ridder, or do they stick with Taylor Heineke here? Or are they just
They missed their window. I mean, they could have gone and probably picked up a Tannehill. Again, contract's not friendly. I get all that. There's cap and business and everything around it, so maybe it wasn't that easy. But they could have gone and gotten Josh Dobbs. I mean, Heineke has been a spark. He did it for Atlanta last week. He did it, when he was with the Commanders. Is he your long-term answer? No. It looks like they don't think Ritter's their long-term answer. They got to figure something out here. And I just don't know what that is because Heineke may get you through the rest of the year. Maybe you go back to Ridder and just see, like, hey, sitting down a game and a half, does that kind of get you refocused? I don't know. But they got to do something here, but otherwise this is just going to be another lost season for the Falcons.
Yes, sir. We did get a little Shohei Ohtani news here, and the Angels have given out a qualifying offer. I believe it was $20 million. I'm trying to pull it up here, but we are running out of time for this particular segment, and we're going to kick off hour number 2 with Steve Barnes. He's the senior writer for therebelwalk.com. This is the Afternoon Underdogs, and you are listening to ESPN Northwest Florida.
Start your morning with sports updates, interviews, reactions, lively discussions, insights, and expert analysis.
I think in our lifetime, we will never see another undefeated team.
Join Evan, Canty, and Michelle weekday mornings from 5 to 7.
It will never happen again.
On the Sports Talk Monster.
If anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt for one last chance, it's Bill Belichick.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The rest of the day, mostly clear and a temperature of 78 with wind 5 to 10 miles per hour out of the west-southwest. Partly cloudy skies tonight, a calm wind and warm near 59. Sunny and 75 tomorrow. 75 and slight fog in the morning, but otherwise mostly sunshine with a light breeze Wednesday. This is your Monday's weather brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Chuck was terrible at fishing. He spent many frustrating hours attempting to get results he saw from internet videos, aggravating trial and error fishing trips, and misguided advice from well-intended friends. Chuck is happy now with his newfound success after he visited Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, where we keep fishing fun, simple, and successful. See us soon at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, located directly off Highway 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach.
Did you know that fees associated with real estate closings are virtually the same from one title company to the next? So what sets South Oak Title apart? Effective communication, customer service, expertise, and technology. If you're buying or selling real estate, refinancing a residential or commercial property, tell your realtor you want to close with South Oak Title. South Oak Title, with locations across the Southeast, including Panama City Beach, Inlet Beach, Destin, and Fort Walton Beach. Visit them online at southoaktitle.com.
We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins. WGSX Lynn Haven, WVLQ Port St. John. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Kevin Harlan here from Westwood One. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for Monday Night Football this week when the 4-3 Jets take on the LA Chargers. Zach Wilson and the Jets have won 3 straight, but now face Justin Herbert and a Charger team confident after a big win of their own last week. Don't miss all the action on Monday Night Football.
Coverage starts at 6:30, kickoff at 7:15, right here on your home for the NFL on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
Hot takes, the latest trades, in-depth interviews.
That is my reaction.
We break it down for you right here.
Very big springboard for the rest of my career.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
That's the problem right there.
4.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Back back in the doghouse here for hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Coach Brian Haddad and the Bone Crusher. We're about to talk with the senior writer for the RebelWalk.com, Steve Barnes. But before that, give you a quick little Braves update here. The Braves today, according to their press release, have exercised the option on Charlie Morton's contract for the 2024 season, but they've also declined options on Colin McHugh, Kirby Yates, and Eddie Rosario. They reinstated Colby Allard, Nick Anderson, Yanni Chirinos, Dylan Lee, Tyler Matzik, Michael Soroka, Kyle Wright, Huascar Noah, man, forgot about him, from the 60-day IL, and they outrighted Jackson Stevens to AAA. Additionally, they claimed left-hand pitcher Angel Perdomo off the waivers from the Pittsburgh Pirates, and now their 40-man roster is full. We'll go over to the phone line where we've got Steve Barnes. Steve, how did Ole Miss survive against Texas A&M?
Well, first, I thought about both of you guys this weekend. I believe you told me, Dave, that you could not make it up to Troy on Thursday night to see him play South. Mm-hmm. But if you had, you would have seen Kamani Vidal break the all-time rushing record at Troy. He outlasted a guy named DeWitt Betterson. I covered DeWitt the day that he broke that record, so that would have been something cool we had in common.
Oh, man, that would have been really cool. Yeah, I was over there in Fort Walton Beach for the Choctaw-Mosley game.
And Brian, man, I hate to admit this, but I had to watch some Mississippi State stuff this weekend. My buddy Kevin Sluter was there. It was the 25th anniversary of the 98 championship team, and I've known Kevin a long, long time. He played on our arena football team in Pensacola when I was the broadcaster and the PR director. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time we were going to Jacksonville, and we had to pick up a new player at a motel in Crestview, Florida. And our bus driver, and it wasn't a bus, it was a semi basically, he did not want to just pull over on the side of the road and let the guy walk 40 yards. He wanted to pull into this narrow parking lot. Then he picked him up, and we had to go around it. And then we heard a boom. The bus driver ran into the motel.
Oh, my goodness.
So one of the coaches said, okay, good place to stop for lunch. and we knew we had a couple of hours because, I mean, this guy's going to have to fill out insurance paperwork for days. And so we're like sitting at a Taco Bell, and I've got one of my Lindy's or Athlon preseason magazines, and I look over and I say, hey, Sluter, says here that Mississippi State's going to finish last in the West. And he gets up and walks over and sits across from me, and he goes, good. Last time they did that was 98, and all we did was go to Atlanta.
That's right.
And I'm like, yes, sir. You got that one, brother.
You know, it was funny you brought that up because that was one of the things I really enjoyed because 98 was actually the first year I was gone, and I did a lot of work with the TV, so I got to know Coach Sherrill, and it was really cool seeing him again. I mean, obviously he's getting up there in age, but it was cool seeing him out there, and that team, it was kind of a weak West that year, but that team gave Tennessee all they wanted in the championship game. They actually had a better record the following year, but Alabama steamrolled through the West that year and did it. But, you know, for as good as it was under Dan Mullen getting to number one, a lot of people forget that Jackie had better records than Dan Mullen had. He just had a couple that were a lot worse, but it was great to see Coach Sherrill and the 98 team out there, and unfortunately that was where the good times ended for Mississippi State on Saturday because
Sluter told me a few stories about Coach Sherrill, and none of them are appropriate for this format.
And I can guarantee you I probably know most of them, and most of them are true.
But anyway, Dave, how did Ole Miss escape?
Yeah.
They did their jobs. Well, for the most part. I mean, defensive backs, that last drive, you can't, drop 2 interceptions. But the offensive line, they handled the front 7, gave up only 1 sack. Judkins ran for over 100 yards. Dart threw for almost 400. Judkins, you got to help your offensive line out and get to the next level. He leads the SEC with 40 broken tackles this year. The wide receivers, you got to make contested catches. Look at what Trey Harris did. Yeah. In fact, the receivers for Ole Miss, the 3 top receivers, plus the tight end. People are saying, well, you know, when you go in the portal, you got to get guys from Alabama and Georgia and Michigan and Ohio State. The top 3 receivers, they came from Western Kentucky, Louisville, Louisiana Tech, and the tight end came from Memphis. You just have to plug in guys who can play.
Yep. Hey,
and it just seems like everybody has a job. Even Juice the dog. After Ole Miss kicks off, he runs out there and fetches the tee and brings it back to the sideline. Everybody has a job with Ole Miss.
So, Steve, you know, they have a saying that they only talk about firing coaches in the SEC on days that end in Y. It's that time of the year where we start talking about the seats that are hot, and obviously this will dovetail a little bit with Jimbo, but we've heard it with Shane Beamer a little bit. We heard it with Sam Pittman, maybe not as much now after going into the swamp and getting a win. But first of all, what do you make about Jimbo? Is he on the hot seat? How hot is it? And 2, what do you think about maybe some of these other coaches that have mentioned maybe being on the hot seat here this time of the year?
I think Jimbo's on the warm seat. He's got 2 things going for him. One, he can always say, look, Wegman got hurt. Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to do with the second-string quarterback? The other thing is, sure, there's some pretty thick checkbooks in Texas. I'm not sure they're ready to write that check yet to get him out of there. And plus, who are you going to get?
Right.
So, I mean, that's the big thing. If you're going to buy out a guy for, you know, $100 zillion, you better have your next guy and know he's better. And I think, honestly, if Jimbo left, I think you'd see a mass exodus through the portal. And I still think you're going to see a lot of them. There was a kid, Marcel Reed from Nashville. He had been committed to Ole Miss for over a year. Then on signing day last year said, you know what, I changed my mind. I'm going to go to A&M.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that looked a little bit hinky, but last week you kept seeing him on the sideline in Oxford, watching this, thinking, wow, yeah, money does not buy happiness there, buddy.
That's right. Well, speaking of money, look, they can stroke checks in Texas, but if he's fired this year, $76.8 million. If it's next year, it drops to 67.5, then down to 58.2. If he makes it all the way to 2030 and then they fire him, 9.95 million. Of course, we don't expect that. But I think your point was excellent. It's not just stroking the check. I think they could get that if they had a Nick Saban to come in, an Urban Meyer to come in. Who do you go get?
Well, you know, a million here, a million there. Come on. After a while, it turns into real money, doesn't it?
You know, but I do want to get your take on this, too, because I was thinking about this more last week when I heard everybody going after Pittman. And, look, they haven't had the season they wanted, but they've been in a lot of close games. Everybody's going after Beamer. That team's beat up, and he's probably done the best job with the least the last 2 years. I thought about this, Steve. Everybody saying what they're saying about Beamer and Pittman is almost word for word what was being said exactly this time a year ago about Coach Drinkwitz at Missouri. And look what they're doing right now.
Well, I think Eli finally got healthy, and he's got his own guys in there now. You got Luther in there as your wide receiver. I think he might be the best in the conference, and you kept him at home.
Mm-hmm.
If he can keep the Missouri kids at home from St. Louis, he's going to be successful. If there's anybody who I think might be in trouble in the SEC, I hate to say it, might be Napier, and that's only because the Florida people are just so impatient.
Mm-hmm.
But what he has going for him is Strickland. Scott Strickland is AD.
Yeah.
I've known Scott since he was an assistant SID at Auburn.
Yeah.
And then he went to State as the AD,
mm-hmm.
and so far at Florida, the only, mistake he made was probably bringing Mullen over. That was probably not the best thing. But But I think he's a level-headed guy, and I think he's going to say, no, we're going to give this guy at least another year, maybe 2. Let him bring his own guys in here. Let him put his own program in.
Yeah, that's it. The only way Napier gets fired this year is if DJ Lagway and the rest of that recruiting class all of a sudden changes their commitments and signs somewhere else. Then it gets real ugly in Gainesville.
Well, he's really good. He's really good at bringing those kids in.
That's true.
Unless somebody offered him $13 million, then he says, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to go somewhere else.
But that wouldn't happen, would it?
Never. Not in this day and age of college football. But the 2 guys I think that are gone, and it's not in the SEC, I think Dino Babers at Syracuse and Tom Allen, and I love Tom. He was an Ole Miss guy. He's been there in Indiana for 8 years.
Yeah.
And it's just not working. And, who are those guys going to go get? I think they have to look to the group of 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go either Willie Fritz at Tulane or John Summerall at Troy, who he's been there for less than 2 years, and he is 18-4. 2 of his losses were at Ole Miss and at Kansas State. Another loss was against ranked James Madison.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing. So I think I do think Chadwell at Liberty would be a prospect. But, the guy James Madison, I can't think of his last name now. Yeah. It's really a strange name. But I think he wants to stay just to say, I built this thing. I want to see what I can do when I can go to a bowl game. I think he stays another year.
I think people need to be looking at Womack at South Alabama. I think he's a tremendous coach.
That's not a bad one either. Neither is Rich Rod at Jack State.
That's right. All right, Steve.
He's rehabilitated himself.
Yep, he has. And he didn't even have to go through the Saban rehab program.
Could you imagine?
I know. I got to ask you this, especially with him almost getting the job.
Right, that's the...
I got to ask you this, Steve, because, look, I went to Mississippi State, so anything positive about Ole Miss, it burns a little bit coming out. But I said before the year, if there was a game, if I'm Georgia, that they need to pay extra close attention to that scares me, it's this one. You're coming out of a big game with Missouri, big revenge game. You're looking ahead to Tennessee. Ole Miss is the kind of team that can really cause Georgia fits. It's a matchup nightmare for Georgia, even though it's between the hedges. So I'm going to pose it to you, Steve. How can Ole Miss complete the deal and upset Georgia this weekend?
Stop shooting themselves in the foot. They keep leading every game in penalties, and you can't do that. But last week, I tell you what, I was really proud of the offensive line. Texas A&M was leading the conference in sacks.
Yeah.
They got 1.
Yeah.
Ole Miss did not turn the ball over except for the block kick that went for a touchdown. If Ole Miss can go in there and commit 1 turnover and give up 1 sack, they've got a real chance. The second thing is the defensive line has got to make Beck feel very uncomfortable.
Yep.
You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with Steve Barnes. He's a senior writer for the RebelWalk.com. Steve, a little 2-part question here. What'd you think of the Alabama-LSU game, and was that targeting when Jaden Daniels went down?
Exactly, it was targeting. Exactly. It was a crown of the helmet to the chin. Even in the presser today, Kiffin said, yeah, that was targeting, and what you're doing is you're telling defensive guys, yeah, you can do that and get away with it. Well, you can do it if you're at Georgia or Alabama, but if you're at, Mississippi State or at Memphis or Auburn, if you do that, you're out the first half next week.
Brian, take the floor here.
I look, I'm not sure. I do think it was targeted. I mean, I don't. I do think it was by what they're doing with trying to protect generally the head. I think it was unnecessary roughness or, late hit on the quarterback, whatever like that. But that might be due to my general disdain for the way they've applied targeting in general. I'm not going to start a fight with Steve over it.
Yeah, he just...
I would disagree. That's just me.
Well, the way I looked at it when I saw it happen was if this was 20 years ago,
yeah,
LSU's defensive front would be saying, okay, you put our guys out for the game. Milroe's going out for the season. We're going to break his leg.
Yeah, it's very much like pitching inside in baseball. The next one, you bat flip, the next one's in your ear. Yeah, that's right.
Which is better for the quarterbacks that it's not that way. But I'm with you, Steve. I wish, not I wish, how it went down is how it went down. But I think that they could have thrown the flag instead of it being for roughing the passer, unnecessary roughness. It could have been for targeting. It should have been for targeting just because of how they've been calling the games, how they've been calling these. I've seen much weaker stuff, passes targeting. And so at the end of the day...
Wait, look at what Sanders, Deion's son did.
Oh, Shiloh. Yeah.
That was no way targeting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's a name. Boom. You throw him out of there, you get him, if you're the referee, you get a little notoriety there. And, we talked about coaches, on the hot seat. I don't think he's on the hot seat, but I think after next year, I think Deion Sanders is out of Colorado.
Heading to a bigger school or a smaller school?
I think he's trying to go to the NFL because he has coached his sons every year since they've been born. He coached his high school in Dallas, the Christian school. Then he went to Jackson State and coached them there. Now he's in Colorado. He wants to coach his kids. So I think next year when they run out of eligibility and they go get drafted, he said something to the Falcons scout a few weeks ago. It's like, I'll go back to Atlanta when you draft my two sons. I think he wants to stay with his kids. I don't think he's really, dedicated to Colorado.
Huh. So how interesting would that be if it did play out like that? Because not only does he have to get a job with a team that's going to draft him, because obviously he's going to have to pull there, but man, a lot of dominoes would have to fall correctly. But that would be pretty neat to see them at the NFL level. Yeah, that's a good take, a take that I haven't even heard to this point. You think Alabama would have obviously a chance, but how do you think Bama would match up with Georgia since they look to be on a collision course for the SEC championship?
I think Georgia would have a little problem containing Milroe, but especially if Brock Bowers is back. Can you imagine your defense trying to chase him and Ladd McConkey around for 60 minutes? That would, I think it would be a close game. It would probably get, somebody pull away late in the fourth quarter, make it a 10-point game. But it wouldn't shock me if Alabama could beat Georgia at all. And I still think Nick Saban's coach of the year in the SEC.
Oh wow!
He's done more with less than he's ever had than he's done before in his career.
So with that, with you giving him that type of praise, and let's just say hypothetically and way out of left field, Bama were to win the national championship, what would Saban do next? Does he retire, or does he keep going until he's just like, you know what, the wheels have fallen off this bus, I'm tired of doing it?
Oh, he's staying. I mean, I think he's kind of like Coach Bowden.
Yeah.
It's like, I like playing golf, but, I don't want to play golf every day. I want to coach football. It's like, somebody told me, if Jimbo gets bought out, he's set for life. Well, since Jimbo's been 19 years old, all he's ever wanted to do was coach football.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes that buyout, he's never going to do it again. It's when the Auburn job came open last year, and I wrote that column about you really don't want that job because once you lose it, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
These people wanted to be coaches since they were in college. And now all of a sudden you're telling them at, 50 years old, that's done. That's it.
That's all she wrote. Yeah, great takes as always, Steve. We are up against a break, but we'll chat with you next Monday. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time.
All right, guys.
That is Steve
Hey,
Barnes,
Steve.
senior writer for the rebelwalk.com. Lynn Haven Rob with a good comment here. He says, I think the conference should have looked at that call and made the decision. There was a timeout at that point in time. I mean, you can go back and forth on it. I did want to ask Steve, but forgot to. Does he think that would have changed the dynamic of the game? I think that affects the Kentucky game more than anything. But we'll see how that plays out next Saturday at 11 a.m. This is the Afternoon Underdogs here on ESPN Northwest Florida. PCB Hobby Takeover with Todd Mueller when we return.
ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the radio home of the Mosley Dolphins.
The Mosley Dolphins are district champions.
Mosley faithful going wild right now.
And this Thursday night, the number 8 seed Dolphins travel to Gainesville to take on the undefeated number 1 seed Butch Holtz Bobcats. Powerhouses collide in the Florida High School State Championship Regional Quarterfinals. Kickoff Thursday at 6:30 with David and Kyle on your home for the Mosley Dolphins, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast from ESPN Northwest Florida on this Monday. Partly cloudy tonight with a wind coming out of the northwest at 2 miles per hour and a low of 60. Tomorrow morning, look for a calm wind and sunshine with a temperature near 76. In the afternoon and evening, a high around 77 and clear. Wednesday, hot with a high of 75 and slight fog in the morning and then mostly sunshine. This weather forecast is brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Take your next adventure in an award-winning Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by Bill Bird Kia today and test drive a new Kia and see why everyone is talking about Kia. The new SUV family has movement that inspires, and we invite you to test drive the new 2023 Kia Soul, Seltos, Sportage, Sorento, and the Telluride. You can command the road in a sedan from Bill Bird Kia. Drive away today in a brand new 2023 Kia Rio, Forte, K5, or Stinger, and discover the all-new vehicle at Bill Bird Kia for you and your family. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort, safety, and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the original home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by 2435 East 15th Street, Panama City today, or anytime at BillBirdKia.com. Peace of mind you can trust at your local community dealer. Bill Bird Kia, 15th Street, Panama City.
It's real, and it starts now. Back to the Afternoon Underdogs on the Sports Talk Monster. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We've got some Monday Night Football on the air for you tonight. Coverage will start after the Afternoon Underdogs. We'll get you to Paul Feinbaum for 30 minutes. Then we'll take you to the coverage for the Chargers and the Jets starting at 6:30 and the kick tonight at 7:15. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in the next segment. But now it's time for the PCB Hobby Takeover with the owner, Todd Mueller. What is going on, Todd?
What's going on, everybody? It's Monday.
Yeah, it is, man.
Right. Pretty exciting week ahead of us. Got a lot going on, of course. We're going to Kate has left and gone to the Baltimore Coin Show. So we're going to be setting up at the Baltimore Coin Show, which I know that doesn't help any of you guys, but what it does help is that we're going to be bringing back a bunch of inventory, number one. And number two, I'm still here along with Brian, our other coin nerd, and we are going to be streaming a lot this week. So we're going to do all 5 days in a row, and we're going to start at 9 a.m. So if you haven't checked our Whatnot stream at PCB Coins, check us out. We will be on pretty much all day, every day this week. So that's pretty cool. All right, Super Saturday is coming up. Also, if you did not know, they are observing Veterans Day on Friday. And Veterans Day is actually on Saturday. So I'm going to extend the offer to anybody who's a veteran, come in, tell us you're a veteran. Don't lie to me. Tell us you're a veteran, and we will give you either a pack of cards. Like if you like TCGs, we'll give you a pack of TCG cards. If you like sports cards, we'll give you, a $5 pack of sports cards. Or you can have 10% off of any comics. Any comics. Coins do not apply. Nice try, Silver Buyers. So we're going to kind of do that little special for Veterans Day. So we're pretty excited about it. But it's Super Saturday. So what is Super Saturday? That is our trade day. So that means on Saturday, I'm assuming we'll have the wheel out, and I'm assuming we'll be giving away prizes and doing all kinds of stuff. You got to spend a certain amount of money. I believe it's $75 or more on any sealed product, and you get a spin on the wheel. So we're pretty excited about that. You can come in, you can bring your cards, you can trade with other people. You do not have to sell everything to me, although I'd like you to. But you can trade to other people who are there and stuff like that. So bring your goods in and let's have a good time this Saturday. With that having been said, you're probably, when you come in this week, are going to hear banging. Banging means a good thing. They are tearing out next door. We have started. Our expansion has started. So we're super excited about that. And we hope that you guys will come visit us and see the updated new look as it progresses. And we're really excited.
Yeah, that's normally how new life is created.
Exactly.
Well, usually those sounds are me kicking the printer or something.
Usually
else,
we have loud banging sounds in the back office from from Brian, but this time it's the next door neighbors renovating.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we are in renovation mode, and we're pretty excited about that. So, don't hesitate to come in and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're super excited about that. As far as new products coming out and new products that have been received, I'm going to kick that over to Brian and see where we're at.
So a lot of new stuff coming this week. The two key products are going to be on Wednesday. Topps Archives comes out. It's always a fun product because they take the current guys and put them on a lot of the older looking sets, like from the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
That blows my mind every time when I'm like, wait, like he's still playing ball, and that card looks like it's from 85.
Yeah, they do that, which is fun. They also have released not just the hobby boxes, but they release what they call their value box, and it is literally in an old school looking lunchbox. So those of you who are of advanced age, like myself, and I won't throw Todd into that mix, but the old school tin lunch boxes, they actually have the value boxes with the cards in those. So that's going to be really popular. On Friday, Panini Certified drops. This is a great hobby product for football, and it is our first hobby product as part of Panini's Direct program.
Correct.
So you're going to get a lot of that. It's going to be very well priced. All the top 2023 players will be in it. So looking forward to that. A product that's been out since late last week, but it would have been after we were last on the radio, that has actually been really fun, is Topps Chrome McDonald's All-American Basketball. And what that is literally the McDonald's All-American game. The men and the women have a set. So these are all current college freshmen. And this set features Bronny James this year. And it's his first autographs, cards. This stuff is going through the roof right now, very much like what happened with Shedeur Sanders in the Bowman Chrome University. And this stuff is gorgeous. We did a whole case of it online the other day, and it was a blast. Pulled a ton of different Bronny James stuff. Didn't get the auto yet. We're getting there, but that stuff is selling well. But it's also exposing the masses who are just chasing Bronny James, may not be that into basketball, but know him, to a lot of these great young players like Juju Watkins and KK Arnold on the women's side, and some of the other guys on the men's side as well, that are going to be playing for Kentucky or for Alabama or for Duke or for North Carolina, UConn on the women's side, South Carolina. And it's just a fabulous product. It's Topps Chrome, after all, and it looks gorgeous. They make great stuff. And we actually have another case of that in the shop right now. It's been a lot of fun. And you can chase kind of the first cards of all of these stars of tomorrow now. So a lot of fun stuff out there. You're going to start over the next couple of weeks seeing more products with Victor Wembanyama come out, which all the hype that was put on this guy, they might have been right based on what I've seen.
I mean, to this point, it's not like you don't got the talent. It's just going to be durability.
Right. So it's exciting to see that one of these super hyped up players is actually living up to it. And that's, we've already got all the products that have Victor in them right now, and they're going to be more coming. None yet in the pro uniform, but that'll be in the next month or so. So a lot of great stuff coming down the pipe here, and in every sport. There's also new Star Wars product coming soon. There's Marvel, TCG
we broke
stuff.
we broke some new Star Wars product the other day. So we have a Whatnot ID that we created called PCB Hobby.
Yes.
So that just follows our name. And what we're doing on PCB Hobby is we're pretty much doing anything and everything. So while we have a huge following on PCB coins and a fairly decent following on PCB sports cards for Whatnot, we also have PCB Hobby, which we're transferring a lot of customers over to there. We're going to be doing a lot of TCG stuff, Star Wars stuff, Pokemon breaks, things like that. We'll even do coins sometimes. And the most exciting thing is we're going to fire up some comic book stuff.
Yes.
So we're going to do some mystery games on that, mystery packs on comic books, and do some really cool sales, especially on New Comic Wednesday when new comics come out. So we're super excited about that. But that ID is at PCB Hobby. So if you're on Whatnot and you're listening, go follow us at PCB Hobby so you can get in on that stuff when we do it.
Yeah, the coins, man. Every time that I'm in PCB Hobby in general, it's like I'm not a coin collector, but like those things are cool because it's history. Well, last Tuesday, y'all had your Halloween party and we're doing some whatnot, and you had you were doing a coin show, and man, like some of those
Some
coins,
of the Roman coins that you looked at.
the Roman coins,
Right.
the Larry Bird coin,
Right,
the McHale coin. It's like, so really, if you're a coin collector, that's great, but if you're a sports fan, there's still things in the coin world that pertain to you.
Correct. And we're doing a lot better job, and we will as we expand in that cross promotion of products. When you come in and you're looking at sports cards, we'll say, hey, do you need any coin supplies, or do you need any coins, or do you need a comic book, or do you need a gift, or something like that? And we're going to have a really cool spread and really cool layout to the new store. So it's going to be pretty exciting with all that. Like I said, we have a lot going on right now. A lot.
A lot going on, and it's about to get a whole lot bigger as well as your store is expanding.
Correct. So anyway, so that's what we got going on there. Again, we're always getting new titles in for comic books, so come check us out for that. We've met lots of neat people in the comic book arena, and eventually we're going to be going to some comic book cons as well. A couple of our guys, Ethan and Chris, just getting back, in fact, in a half an hour from Houston. They were at a big con for TCGs and stuff like that. We set up. We had, I believe, 5 or 6 tables, and so that was a lot of fun. They did really well, and we get a lot of exposure that way. A lot of people know about us in the industry and things like that. And of course, people who go to those also come visit us in Panama City Beach. So that's very exciting too. So we got a lot going on there. And it's pretty cool. And we're doing all the shows and stuff like that. I believe this is our last big coin show that we're doing this year, though. So I think our next one's going to be the Florida Fun Show. And that's the Florida United Numismatist Show in Orlando, Florida.
The Big Daddy.
That's the granddaddy. That's the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's going to be in January. So we'll be going down to that. So we're super excited about all that. And hopefully we should be open in the new space by then. The contractors and everybody tell us that they should get stuff done pretty quickly, but we all know things can change, so we'll do our best, and hopefully by Christmas we'll have our Christmas present of being open in the new space. So,
yeah.
Anyways.
Good stuff.
So do you have any questions for me today about anything? Because you did get to see the coins the other day, which was interesting.
Those Roman coins, man, like how far back do those go time-wise?
So here's kind of the deciding factor of an old Roman coin is they have a thing called widow's mites. Widow's mites are before Christ, BC. So those will be 50, 60, 70 BC, before Christ, and that was what they used to trade as far as money. After Christ, they had rulers, and so you would have 1020 AD to 1040 AD. And things like that, and it would be a specific ruler as Caesar that would rule the Roman Empire. And so it's amazing that these coins are 2,000 years old, some of them 1,800 years old, 1,700 years old, and then they're graded by NGC at that as great coins, as good coins, like problem free. It's
like
amazing.
You can read, like if you didn't know any better, you would think that it was a modern coin. Not modern, but yeah.
Yeah, rudimentary, but modern.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Like you can read everything on there. You can tell what the picture is.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So that was a fun night. Tuesday night was a fun night, and we had a good time, and I'm super excited that everybody came and showed up and stuff like that.
How long did y'all end up streaming for that evening?
So interesting enough, you're never going to believe this. So we streamed till about That was Tuesday night. We streamed till about 11 o'clock, maybe 10:30.
So that's
which wasn't that late, actually, for us.
Yeah.
The next morning, I got up. Are you ready for this? I got up at 9, went to my garage, started streaming, called one of the guys, Brian, over.
Mm-hmm.
He came over, started streaming with me. Next thing you know, it's 6 o'clock in the evening. And then, on top of it, Kate shows up after 6 or right at 6, and we end up streaming till midnight.
Yeah.
So we literally went from 9 to midnight on Wednesday. It was nuts. Anyways, it's been a crazy couple weeks. We've just been doing a lot of craziness and a lot of fun, and been really, really, getting it going. We've also fired up a lot of our eBay stuff. What a lot of you guys don't know is we have an eBay store also called PCB Hobby. Mm-hmm. You guys need to check that out for deals, because it's some of the stuff that's not offered in our store that we offer only on eBay. So our ID on eBay is PCB Hobby. We have plenty of comic books, especially graded comic books, which is really neat. And then we have a lot of sports cards that are on there that don't necessarily get put out in the shop that we're eBaying. And, of course, we have a lot of TCG stuff as well. So it's a very good site to check out. We're also working on integration between eBay and our website. So that's really cool. Again, we have PCBHobby.com, which you guys know you've pulled up a million times, Dave.
Yeah, I got it up right now.
The calendar
Yeah.
and stuff like that and what we've got going on. And again, don't forget, we have our normal events, like Tuesday night's going to be Lorcana.
Mhm.
Wednesday night's going to be Pokemon. Thursday night, I believe they're trying One Piece.
Yeah,
maybe?
One Piece, yeah.
Right, and then Friday night's Magic, and then Saturday again is Vanguard. And I think we might even be doing some Yu-Gi-Oh!
You got a Digimon card game Blast Ace pre-release event, which just goes to show you how awesome the event calendar is, because, I mean, it's built out for a whole entire month, if not more than that,
Right,
so.
exactly. You got to check it out. Of course, we got a lot of pre-orders on our website, too. So, again, if you guys don't know about that, go to our website and look up stuff. We're doing pre-orders. That means the product's not out yet. That means you can get in on the product at special pricing, and we will save it for you if you order it. So we've been having great success with that, and things have been going really well and really busy. Also, our TikTok, we've added a new person into the company, and our TikTok is starting to get up and roaring on PCB Hobby as well. So as you guys can kind of start gaining thought process here with us, everything's going to PCB Hobby.
Yeah.
We're kind of streamlining PCB Hobby as what we're doing.
Yep.
And it makes it a lot easier, too, for some of the people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they see your brand, and then all of a sudden they type that in, and they can get to any direction, any part of you guys' hobbies that they need to.
Correct, absolutely. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we just got notified that Lorcana boosters are in stock.
Ah, there you go. So Lorcana was the Disney product that came out, and they sold out immediately. Everything was gone. We were getting calls, like literally 20 calls a day for Lorcana. We just got Lorcana booster boxes back in. We just got it back in. If you want Lorcana, you better get in there right now.
Yeah,
right
y'all are open for what, 22 more minutes?
22 more minutes, and then tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you need Lorcana, if anybody that you know needs Lorcana, you better show up tomorrow, because I'm telling you, we will blow through this stuff. It is on fire right now.
And in 22 minutes right now, I mean, you can definitely make it to PCB Hobby right now.
They'll stay open for you. Don't worry. That's the one thing. The final thing that we definitely need to talk about today is we are in search of an eBay lister. So I don't have a fancy name for it. I could come up with one, but there's no need. We need somebody to apply who wants to do eBay 8 hours a day. Literally wants to do eBay and live, learn, and be eBay for us 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. We need an eBay lister. So we have a new position open, and we need an eBay lister. If you are interested in becoming an eBay lister, come to the shop, hit us up, send us your resume. Let's talk, because we need somebody to be eBay listing. We are very much embracing that and very much are in need of help.
That is very interesting stuff, and that is Tom Mueller with PCB Hobby. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Just come in and check us out. And again, excuse our dust.
Excuse the dust, but there's still Lorcon. There's still all the TCG games. There's comics.
And remember Veterans.
Veterans Day this Friday and Saturday. I'm extending it both days since we're observing it on Friday, and it's actually on Saturday. Both days we will be open. Both days. Prove to us you're a veteran, which means show us your veterans card, and we will give you a pack of something or 10% off comics. Coins do not apply.
And Todd will treat everybody fairly. He won't give any preferential treatment to the Navy.
Maybe I will, maybe I won't.
You heard it here first. Y'all get over there to PCB Hobby, and especially on Friday and Saturday. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Quick timeout. We'll be right back with our local recap.
ESPN Northwest Florida, your home for Mike Greenberg.
I'm done with James Harden. He's been traded to the Clippers now. What's the over-under on the time that he decides he's frustrated with them? It's always something. You are so much better to be rid of that guy. Infinitely more trouble than he is worth. He is 100% addition by subtraction. Just let me know when that's all over.
Greeny. Weekdays on ESPN Northwest Florida.
With over 65 years of combined experience, Instant Replay Sports Cards is happy to help you take your collection to the next level. They carry all the new hobby boxes, signed memorabilia, and supplies. New and vintage cards and Pokemon. They sell and trade cards and are always looking to buy. They're an authorized source for Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, and Leaf cards. Instant Replay Sports Cards is open 7 days a week at 752 West 23rd Street, down from Academy Sports. It can always be reached at InstantReplaySportsCards.com.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Kevin Harlan here from Westwood One. Join me in Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for Monday Night Football this week when the 4-3 Jets take on the LA Chargers. Zach Wilson and the Jets have won 3 straight, but now face Justin Herbert and a Charger team confident after a big win of their own last week. Don't miss all the action on Monday Night Football.
Coverage starts at 6:30, kickoff at 7:15, right here on your home for the NFL on the Gulf Coast. ESPN Northwest Florida.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And you're back. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. Don't forget about PCB Hobby, and especially this Saturday, Friday and Saturday, for the veterans. You do have to prove, first and foremost, that you're a veteran. Outside of that, if you can get past that, then you can either get a pack of cards or 10% off comics. So some great stuff there. Also, tons of products coming out right now if you want to revisit that real quick.
Well, and I just want to say, PCB Hobby is veteran-owned, actually.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because you mentioned the little, so both of them served then. Well, appreciate you guys' service. Obviously, Todd's not in here with us anymore. He's already on his way out the door. But, yeah, definitely appreciate the service there from Todd and Bill. And great stuff there. And also, check out eBay PCB Hobby. They're streamlining everything to that. And again, I want to say this to people who might be out there who might collect coins and whatnot. They have a great time on their whatnot. They really do.
It's a show. It's not just an auction. It's a show.
Yeah.
And it's educational. It's comedy. It's goofiness. It's seeing stuff that maybe you've never seen before and getting a chance to own a piece of something maybe you've wanted your whole life or you owned earlier in your life or whatever. So, yeah, the whole thing is, look, if it was just an auction, it'd just be boring. So making everything into a show is the key. And the crew that does the shows over there, they make it very entertaining and fun. And, even if you don't buy anything, hang out, be a part of it in the comments and, kind of like what we do here.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff there, Brian. All right, this is the Barbaritos local recap. Visit Barbaritos on 23rd Street and tell them that the Underdogs sent you. Barbaritos, food, community, people. We'll go over these football scores here briefly. On Thursday, Choctaw took down Mosley 35-0, but Mosley already punched their ticket by way of a win against Niceville the week prior, so they will be on their way to Gainesville this Thursday, and the game kicks off at 6:30. You can listen to that right here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Weewa beats Franklin 34-8, and Holmes over Destin 32-14. On Friday, Bozeman stays undefeated in the regular season. They beat Rutherford 41-24. But so great season there from Bozeman, but you have to give some credit to Rutherford for the way that their season has gone. Coach Nuke over there doing a great job.
This is a team on the come up, no doubt, and very impressed with what they've done over there. I mean, it was pretty decimated coming out of Michael and everything like that, and with the day and age of people being able to school of choice, go wherever they want, it's been real tough. So what the crew has done over at Rutherford this year has been just phenomenal. Even in the games they've lost, they've been right in it, and so it's been fun to watch, and that's a squad to look out for next year as well, for sure.
Chipley beats Bluntstown 32-26. North Bay Haven blanks Arnold 46-0. Port St. Joe, they beat Bay 35-14. Mariana in a close one over South Walton 26-25. Sneeds beats Freeport 50-28. I really need to go back and look at the stats there for Jason Patterson and see how good of a season he's had, because next year he's going to be at Cincinnati as the running back for them. Liberty over Jefferson 49-24. Vernon takes down FAMU 30-20. Cottondale over Graceville 44-6. Walton beats Northview 54-14. Crestview over Fort Walton Beach 35-28. And Niceville takes down Navarre 63-34. We had the Ironman here, Panama City Beach Ironman, back for the 25th year. Just under 2,000 athletes, all the way from 18 to 83 years old, and they started it out with a 2.4-mile swim through the Gulf, followed by a 112-mile bike ride, and finished with a 26.2-mile run. I am tired just reading that, Brian. On the pro sides of things, Rudy Von Berg crossed the finish line first at 7 hours, 34 minutes, 41 seconds, which is a new course record. And for the women, it was Sky Monch claimed her first victory, 8 hours, 22 minutes, 29 seconds. She set a new bike course best for the women with a 4-hour, 23-minute, 9-second ride time. In the last 2 years previous to this, she finished second. So it had to feel great getting over that hump for her. And the Ironman is going to be back next year here in PCB on November 2nd. It's announced that the Ironman is going to be back for the next 5 years, all the way until 2029. Honestly, if it wasn't for the PCB Ironman event that they have, I don't know if you remember Nick Nikic, but he's a young man with Down syndrome, and I think that was his first Ironman that he was able to do a few years back. And since then, I've seen him all over, because I whenever I saw that, I reached out to his dad, and we were going to get him on the air. But stuff ended up happening. They started getting more popular at that point. And now, man, with Theo Vaughn having an interview with Nick Nikic, like he's a very popular figure now to this point. So congratulations to him. And then also that's really cool that, the PCB Ironman was his start.
I am glad to hear that we are going to have the Ironman for 5 more years.
Mm-hmm.
I would love the Ironman to make a ton of money, because what I'd like the Ironman to do is then to build a bridge where those bikes can go over 98 right there at Pier Park, so it doesn't block up traffic for 714 miles.
Yeah, there you go, man. I've just kind of made it my mission that whenever I know that the Ironman is going on, I am townside, but that's not unusual for me anyway.
When you worked all those years at Frank Brown Park and you had to deal with it getting there, yeah, you're keenly aware of the Ironman schedule.
And going the back way don't help too much, does it?
No. There is no back way during the Ironman.
What about that new, Philip Griffith's Causeway?
Eventually you're going to run into it anyway. So it's just the way that they did. Look, it's one of the events. It's what we love having here. It's an inconvenience, but it's worthwhile because of all the people it brings. And, you know, even like I said, when I was working at Frank Brown coaching, we'd have a lot of the guys who were going to be in for the Ironman swimming there all week. They're not just down here for the day. I mean, they're here for a week, 2 weeks. Some of the international people make a month out of it. So it's a big event, and obviously it's got a huge boost to our economy, but also it's just a great event to have. And they finally had some nice weather because they've had a couple of years where they've had to cancel the swim.
Yeah.
So this year looked like it was gorgeous weather, and congrats to everyone who competed it because, like you, I pulled a hammy just thinking about it.
Absolutely. High school football playoffs here. Class 1R, Region 1, Bozeman and Holmes County get the bye. Chipley's going to be hosting the 6th seed. That'll be Friday at 7 p.m. in the region quarterfinal. In 1R, Region 2, Bluntstown and PSJ have the bye. Sneeds is going to be hosting the 5 seed Cottondale Friday at 7. Weewa is going to be they're going to be traveling to number 6, Osceola Christian. That'll also be Friday at 7 in the region quarterfinal. In Class 2S, Region 1, Walton will be hosting the 8 seed South Walton Friday at 7. Mariana travels to number 3, Florida High. That'll be Friday at 7 as well. And then Class 4S, Region 1, Mosley travels to number 1, Buchholz on Thursday, November 9th at 7:30 Eastern. So that'll be a 6:30 kick in the region quarterfinal. Cannot wait for all of these games, and I'm definitely going to be keeping a close eye there on the Bucks from Bozeman to see how they do moving forward. But congratulations to all the teams here in Bay County, Gulf County. If you're in a listening distance or close by, close enough to where someone can be like, man, I heard about your team on the radio, then congratulations to you guys. We had some breaking news earlier. It really broke whenever we had Steve on the line. I was going to try to work it in, but it just never worked that way. So our breaking news is the Big Ten has formally notified Michigan that it could be facing disciplinary action from the league. That's from a Michigan official to ESPN. The letter sent to Michigan is part of the Big Ten sportsmanship policy, which requires a notice of disciplinary action in the event it becomes clear that an institution is likely to be subjected to disciplinary action. The NCAA is investigating Michigan for illegal off-campus scouting and signal stealing. But Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti has the authority to impose discipline under the sportsmanship policy before the lengthy NCAA investigative and infractions process concludes. So, I'm torn on this. I'm not even torn on this one. I don't think that I get it, and this has become a huge story, and if they did it, it's wrong. If they broke the rules, it's wrong, but I don't know if we should be doing this in the middle of the season.
I don't want my college football playoff decided by lawyers, and I'm having a very, very weird feeling that we might be heading there. Too many lawyers, I tell you.
Too many lawyers.
But seriously, no, it's right now it's a giant game of chicken. Because, the University of Michigan fired an opening salvo saying basically, we're going to consider recourse here if you guys attempt this in season because due process matters. And it does. But, that being said, I understand the complaint. If it's a rule and it was blatantly broken, I understand the complaint of all the other teams. The problem is it's going to end up going to court. And there's no great ending one way or the other. It's either not going to be adjudicated in time and everybody's going to complain about that, or it's going to get tied up with appeals this, that, or the other, and it's going to look like one of those stupid Little League cases where kids from out of district are playing, whatever, and it all ends up in a, court arbitration, and it's just a nightmare scenario. Let's decide it on the field. Look, as much as I believe you don't break a rule that's there, even if it's a dumb rule, which I think this is, I still think the way to handle it is when you find out they're doing it, gamesmanship, baby.
Yeah.
Do the Mike Leach. Drop the fake playbook and game on. Let's go.
And I'm right there. I am right there with you on that.
I'm just worried this one's going to be decided in the courtroom instead of on the football field, and that is the worst case scenario.
Chargers, Jets tonight. That's coverage is going to be starting at 6:30. We'll get to the we'll get to the coverage at 6:30. Kickoff tonight is at 7:15. It's Chargers and the Jets. Chargers are a 3-point favorite on the road. Total sitting at 40.5. Chargers cover the spread. And what's the over/under looking like for you, Brian?
I really like the Jets. I'm worried I like them because I need Herbert to lay an egg tonight.
There you go.
To protect my fantasy lead. I have no more players. That being said, everything screams Jets to me here. But the Chargers need a win. And it seems like this year in the NFL, every time somebody's really needed a win, they've gotten it. Except for the Giants, because they just can't get out of their own way. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with my pick. I think the Jets win outright, and I'll take the under.
40.5.
It's a low under considering that the Chargers are involved, but that Jets defense is tough, and they really play well at home with that crazy crowd behind them. I'm going to take the Jets, and I like the under here, which means the Chargers are going to win by 50 and cover. So,
well, you could have put a total of 18 on, I believe it was Iowa and Northwestern, because they only scored 17 points combined, and that was in the waning moments there. And then Iowa connected on 2 passes in a row for them to get the win. But, well, that's crazy. And also in college football, Division I level at least, there is no more winless teams, as Sam Houston State got the win this last weekend. How about Army over Air Force? That might have been one of the most surprising games of them all. But Ryan Mulvey, host of the Inside Drive, just texted me a little video here of Aaron Rodgers, and it looks like he has no brace on.
Here we go.
I'm not diving into it yet, man. I'll save that for Friday when Bone Crusher's like, well,
Rabbit hole Dave.
But he's out there slinging passes right now with no brace. Okay. So we'll see about it. I'm not even trying to get into the conspiracy theory. I'm just updating. I'm just giving you the fact that the man is out there right now. And so I don't even know if it'll be till week 15 that he's coming back. You know what I mean? We're talking about the best healer of all time.
He ain't staring down Aaron Donald right now, I can tell you that.
That's fair. That's fair. But, I mean, if this is all him healing and stuff, this is very impressive. And they do have a new... well, I guess if if your Achilles is that important, they do have a doctor that has this new surgery or whatever, and that could be, kind of like with Tua and the tightrope surgery.
Yeah, it would have to be the equivalent of the tightrope somehow. Look, this is how medicine advances.
Oh, my goodness. We are out of time for the day. Coach James Hale Show is going to be live at 7 in the morning. Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 for Bone Crusher and Brian Haddad. I'm David Hayes. Just remember, Jesus loves you, and so do I.
And the Titans still stink.
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida is your home for the NFL.
Touchdown, Denver!
We bring you the biggest games every Sunday, Monday, and Thursday night.
Oh, he's got the first down!
Plus, we'll broadcast more college football games than ever before.
He did what?
Live NFL and college football play here.
Unbelievable!
104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your weather forecast.